Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. Shelley smoothed her hands over the charcoal sweater dress, marveling at how it fit her body. The soft fabric felt luxurious against her skin, a stark contrast to the stiff shirts and slacks that had been her uniform for so long. She turned sideways, admiring the feminine silhouette the dress created. A light knock at the door startled her from her reverie. "How's it going in there?" Gwen's warm voice called out. "Do you need any help?" "I think I've got it," Shelley replied, her voice wavering slightly with nerves. "But maybe you could take a look." The door creaked open and Gwen stepped inside, her eyes widening as she took in Shelley's transformation. "Oh, honey, you look absolutely stunning," she exclaimed, clapping her hands together in delight. "That dress is perfect on you." Shelley felt a blush creep across her cheeks at the compliment. "You really think so? It doesn't look too much." Gwen shook her head emphatically. "Not at all. It's elegant without being over the top. Tom won't know what hit him." She winked, causing Shelley to laugh nervously. "I hope you're right," Shelley murmured, smoothing imaginary wrinkles from the dress. "I'm still not used to dressing like this. It feels exposed somehow." Gwen's expression softened. "That's completely normal, sweetie. You're embracing a whole new side of yourself. It takes time to feel comfortable." She reached out and squeezed Shelley's hand reassuringly. "But I promise you, you look amazing. And more importantly, you look like you—" Shelley took a deep breath, allowing Gwen's words to sink in. She was right. This outfit might be new territory, but it felt authentic in a way her old wardrobe never had. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything. I don't know how I would have gotten through this transition without you." "That's what friends are for," Gwen replied with a warm smile. "Now let's get those boots on you and head to the salon. We've got an appointment for hair and makeup in 30 minutes. Shelley nodded, sitting down to pull on the knee-length black boots. They added a few inches to her height and made her legs look impossibly long. As she zipped them up, she caught sight of her reflection again. The woman staring back at her exuded a quiet confidence that she was only beginning to feel internally. The drive to the salon passed in a blur of excited chatter. Gwen regaled Shelley with stories of her own dating mishaps, keeping her mind off her nerves. Before she knew it, they were pulling into the parking lot of an upscale spa. "All right, this is where the real magic happens," Gwen declared as they walked inside. The interior was sleek and modern, with soothing music playing softly in the background. The receptionist greeted them warmly and led them to a private room. A stylist named Mia introduced herself, her vibrant purple hair adding a pop of color to the neutral tones of the spa. "So, what are we thinking for today?" she asked, running her fingers through Shelley's hair. Shelley hesitated, unsure how to articulate what she wanted. Gwen jumped in. "We're going for soft and feminine, but still natural. She has a big date tonight, and we want her to feel like the best version of herself." Mia nodded, a knowing smile playing on her lips. "I've got just the thing. Trust me, by the time we're done, you'll be turning heads everywhere you go." The next hour passed in a whirlwind of activity. Shelley's hair was washed, cut, and styled into soft waves that framed her face beautifully. Mia worked her magic with makeup, enhancing Shelley's natural features with subtle contouring and a hint of shimmer on her eyelids. A soft rose lipstick completed the look. When Mia finally spun the chair around to face the mirror, Shelley gasped. The woman staring back at her was undeniably feminine, but in a way that felt authentic rather than costume-like. Her eyes seemed bigger, her cheekbones more defined. The overall effect was stunning, yet natural. "What do you think?" Mia asked, beaming with pride at her handiwork. I love it," Shelley breathed, unable to tear her eyes away from her reflection. "I've never felt so beautiful." Gwen clapped her hands together, her eyes suspiciously moist. "Oh, honey, you've always been beautiful. But now the outside matches how gorgeous you are on the inside." Shelley stood up, giving Mia a heartfelt thank you before following Gwen out to the reception area. As they walked, she noticed heads turning in her direction. For once, the attention didn't make her want to shrink away. Instead, she found herself standing a little taller, embracing the confidence her new look inspired. Back in the car, Gwen turned to Shelley with a mischievous grin.
So, are you ready to knock Tom's socks off?
Shelley laughed, some of the tension easing from her shoulders.
As ready as I'll ever be, I suppose.
I just hope he likes the real me. Honey, if he doesn't appreciate how amazing you are, then he doesn't deserve you, Gwen said firmly. But from what you've told me about your first date, I have a feeling he's going to be blown away. As they pulled up to the restaurant where Shelley was meeting Tom, her nerves returned full force. She took a deep breath, reminding herself of how far she'd come. You've got this, Gwen reassured her. Just be yourself and have fun. Shelley nodded, giving Gwen a quick hug before stepping out of the car. The cool evening air caressed her bare legs as she walked towards the entrance, her heels clicking rhythmically on the pavement. She spotted Tom waiting near the door, looking handsome in a navy blazer and dark jeans. His eyes widened as she approached, a slow smile spreading across his face. Wow, he said softly as she reached him. You look incredible. Thank you, Shelley replied, feeling a blush creep across her cheeks. You clean up pretty well yourself. Tom's grin widened as he opened the door for her.
Shall we?
As they were led to their table, Shelley felt a surge of gratitude for how comfortable Tom made her feel. He'd been nothing but supportive since she'd opened up about her transition on their first date, never making her feel like she was anything other than the woman she knew herself to be. Once they were seated, Tom leaned in, his voice low and warm.
I hope this isn't too forward, but I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since our last date.
Shelley felt a flutter in her stomach at his words. I've been thinking about you too, she admitted. I'm really glad we decided to do this again. As they perused the menus, they fell into easy conversation, picking up right where they'd left off last time. Shelley found herself relaxing more and more as the evening progressed. Tom asked thoughtful questions about her transition, never prying too deeply but showing genuine interest in her journey. So how has work been? Tom asked as their entrees arrived. You mentioned things were a bit challenging with some coworkers. Shelley took a sip of her wine before responding. It's gotten better, actually. My boss, Gwen, the one who helped me get ready today, she's been amazing. She really went to bat for me with HR and made it clear that any discrimination wouldn't be tolerated. Tom nodded approvingly.
That's fantastic. It's so important to have allies in the workplace. I'm glad you have someone like Gwen in your corner.
Me too, Shelley agreed. She's been more than just a boss. She's become a real friend and mentor through all of this. She paused, twirling pasta around her fork. What about you? How have things been at the firm? As Tom launched into a story about a particularly demanding client, Shelley found herself marveling at how natural this all felt. Here she was, on a date with an attractive man who saw her for who she truly was. It was something she'd dreamed about for so long, but never quite believed would happen. The rest of the meal passed in a pleasant blur of conversation and laughter. As they finished their dessert, a decadent chocolate mousse they decided to split, Tom reached across the table to take her hand.
Shelley,
he said, his voice serious but warm. I want you to know how much I've enjoyed getting to know you. You're an incredible woman, strong, funny, compassionate. I feel lucky to be sitting here with you. Shelley felt her heart swell at his words. Tom, thank you. That means more to me than you know. I've enjoyed getting to know you too. You've made me feel so comfortable being myself. He squeezed her hand gently.
That's because you're wonderful exactly as you are. I hope you know that.
As they left the restaurant, Tom offered Shelley his arm. The gesture was old-fashioned but charming, and she found herself leaning into him slightly as they walked. The night air had cooled considerably, and she shivered slightly in her dress. Without hesitation, Tom shrugged off his blazer and draped it over her shoulders. The fabric was warm from his body heat and carried a hint of his cologne. Shelley pulled it closer around her, touched by the gesture. Such a gentleman, she teased lightly, though her voice held genuine appreciation. Tom grinned, his eyes twinkling in the soft glow of the streetlights. "My mother raised me right," he quipped back. Then, more seriously, "But really, I just want you to be comfortable." They strolled slowly down the sidewalk, neither seeming in a rush for the evening to end. Tom's hand found hers again, their fingers intertwining naturally. Shelley marveled at how such a simple touch could send sparks shooting up her arm. As they approached a small park, Tom gestured towards a bench overlooking a fountain. "Care to sit for a bit?" he asked. "It's such a beautiful night. It seems a shame to end it so soon." Shelley nodded, allowing him to lead her to the bench. As they sat down, she was acutely aware of how close they were, their thighs just barely touching. Tom's arm draped casually across the back of the bench, not quite around her shoulders, but close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. For a moment, they sat in comfortable silence, watching the play of moonlight on the water. Then Tom turned to her, his expression soft but intense. "Shelley," he began, his voice low. "I hope I'm not being too forward, but may I kiss you?" Shelley's breath caught in her throat. She'd been hoping for this moment, dreaming about it even, but now that it was here, she felt a flutter of nerves. But looking into Tom's eyes, seeing the genuine care and attraction there, she found her courage. "Yes," she whispered, leaning in slightly. When they finally pulled apart, both slightly breathless, Shelley couldn't help the wide smile that spread across her face. Tom's answering grin was equally radiant. "Wow," he murmured, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her cheek. "That was... yeah," Shelley agreed, unable to find more eloquent words in the moment. They sat there for a while longer, trading soft hugs and quiet conversation. Shelley felt as though she was floating, buoyed by a potent mixture of attraction and genuine connection. For the first time in a long time, she felt truly seen and appreciated for who she was. As the night grew later, Tom reluctantly mentioned that he had an early meeting the next day. "But I don't want this night to end," he admitted as they stood up from the bench. "Me neither," Shelley said softly. "But maybe we could do this again soon?" Tom's face lit up. "I'd love that. How about this weekend? There's a new art exhibition opening at the museum I thought you might enjoy." Shelley nodded eagerly. "That sounds perfect." They walked back to where Shelley had parked her car, hands clasped between them. When they reached the vehicle, Tom pulled her close for one last lingering hug. "Good night, beautiful," he murmured against her lips. "Drive safe." "Good night," Shelley replied, feeling a bit dazed in the best possible way. "Text me when you get home?" Tom nodded, giving her hand one last squeeze before stepping back to allow her to get in the car. As Shelley drove home, she couldn't wipe the smile off her face. The evening had been everything she'd hoped for, and more. When she arrived at her apartment, she immediately called Gwen, knowing her friend would be anxiously awaiting details. Gwen picked up on the first ring. "Well?" she demanded without preamble. "How did it go?" Shelley laughed, kicking off her boots and collapsing onto her couch. "It was amazing," she gushed. "Gwen, he's wonderful. We talked for hours, and then we went for a walk, and he kissed me, and..." "He kissed you?" Gwen squealed, her excitement palpable even through the phone. "Oh, honey, I'm so happy for you. Tell me everything." As Shelley recounted the evening's events, she felt a profound sense of contentment wash over her. For so long, she'd struggled with feeling like she didn't fit in her own skin. But tonight, dressed in clothes that felt right, wearing makeup that enhanced rather than masked her features, she'd felt truly herself. And Tom had seen that, had appreciated her for exactly who she was. "You deserve all of this happiness, sweetie," Gwen said warmly when Shelley finished her recap. "I'm so proud of you for putting yourself out there and allowing yourself to be vulnerable. I couldn't have done it without you." Shelley replied, her voice thick with emotion.
Your support has meant everything to me.
After hanging up with Gwen, Shelley went through her nightly routine, carefully removing her makeup and changing into comfortable pajamas. As she crawled into bed, her phone buzzed with a text from Tom. Home safe. Can't stop thinking about you. Sweet dreams. Beautiful. Shelley hugged her phone to her chest, feeling a warmth spread through her entire body. As she drifted off to sleep, she allowed herself to imagine a future full of possibilities. More dates with Tom, deepening friendships, a career where she could be her authentic self. For the first time in a long time, that future didn't seem like an impossible dream. It felt within reach, as tangible and real as the lingering sensation of Tom's lips on hers. The next morning, Shelley woke to sunlight streaming through her curtains and a sense of excitement thrumming through her veins. The events of the previous night played through her mind like a beloved movie, each moment bringing a fresh wave of joy. As she went about her morning routine, she found herself moving with a new confidence. The woman in the mirror smiled back at her, no longer a stranger, but a friend she was getting to know better each day. She took extra care with her makeup, channeling some of what she'd learned from Mia at the salon. When she arrived at work, Gwen was waiting by her desk with 2 steaming cups of coffee.
Spill,
she demanded, handing Shelley one of the mugs. I want every detail you were too tired to share last night. Shelley laughed, gratefully accepting the coffee. You're incorrigible, you know that? That's why you love me? Gwen replied with a wink. Now come on, tell me more about this dreamboat of yours. As they settled into Gwen's office, Shelley found herself opening up even more about the date. She described the way Tom had looked at her, how his touch had sent shivers down her spine, the depth of conversation they'd shared. He asked me about work, Shelley mentioned, cradling her mug. About how things have been going with the transition. I told him how supportive you've been. Gwen's eyes softened. I'm glad you have someone you can be open with about all of this. It sounds like he really cares about understanding your experience. Shelley nodded, a warm smile playing on her lips. He does. It's incredible, Gwen. I never thought I'd find someone who could see me for who I really am. Oh, honey. Gwen reached out to squeeze her hand. You deserve nothing less. I'm so happy for you. As they turned their attention to work matters, Shelley found herself tackling projects with renewed energy. The confidence boost from her date with Tom seemed to spill over into every aspect of her life. She spoke up more in meetings, offering innovative solutions that earned her approving nods from senior management. During her lunch break, she received a text from Tom. Can't stop thinking about last night. Looking forward to seeing you this weekend. Hope your day is going well. Shelley felt a flutter in her stomach as she typed out a reply. Same here. Today has been great. Feeling really good. Can't wait for the museum. The rest of the week passed in a blur of productivity at work and excited preparation for her next date with Tom. Shelley found herself paying more attention to fashion blogs and makeup tutorials, eager to continue exploring this new aspect of her identity. By the time Saturday rolled around, Shelley felt a mixture of excitement and nerves bubbling up inside her. She spent extra time getting ready, carefully applying her makeup and styling her hair into soft waves. For her outfit, she chose a flowy floral dress that hit just above her knees, paired with comfortable yet stylish ankle boots. As she gave herself a final once-over in the mirror, Shelley marveled at how far she'd come. The woman staring back at her was confident, feminine, and radiantly happy. It was a far cry from the person who had spent years hiding behind ill-fitting clothes and a mask of masculinity. The buzz of her phone pulled her from her reflections. It was a text from Tom. Just parked. Can't wait to see you. With one last deep breath, Shelley grabbed her purse and headed out to meet him. As she stepped outside, she spotted Tom waiting by his car. His face lit up when he saw her, and she felt a warmth spread through her chest. You look beautiful, Tom said as she approached. That dress is stunning on you. Shelley felt a blush creep across her cheeks. Thank you, she replied, taking in his own outfit. a well-fitted button-down shirt and dark jeans that highlighted his athletic build. "You're looking pretty handsome yourself." Tom offered her his arm with a grin. "Shall we?" As they walked into the museum, Shelley found herself marveling at how natural it felt to be out in public with Tom. There was no anxiety about being clocked as trans, no fear of judgmental stares. She was simply a woman on a date with a man she was rapidly falling for. The exhibition turned out to be a fascinating exploration of modern art. Tom, she discovered, had quite the eye for artistic detail. He pointed out subtle elements in the paintings that she might have otherwise missed, his enthusiasm infectious. "I didn't realize you were so knowledgeable about art," Shelley commented as they paused in front of a particularly striking abstract piece. Tom shrugged modestly. "I minored in art history in college. It's always been a passion of mine." As they moved through the gallery, their conversation flowed effortlessly from art to their personal lives. Shelley found herself opening up about her childhood, sharing stories she'd rarely told anyone before. "I always knew I was different," she confided as they sat on a bench in a quiet corner of the museum. "But growing up in a small town, I didn't have the words to explain how I felt. It wasn't until I moved to the city for college that I really started to understand myself." Tom listened attentively, his hand resting comfortingly on her knee. "That must have been incredibly difficult," he said softly. "I can't imagine carrying that kind of weight for so long." Shelley nodded, feeling a lump form in her throat. "It was, but in a way I'm grateful for the journey. It's made me who I am today." Tom's hand moved to cup her cheek gently. "And who you are is pretty amazing," he murmured. Here, in this moment, she was exactly where she was meant to be. After finishing their tour of the exhibition, Tom suggested they grab dinner at a nearby cafe. The intimate setting allowed for even deeper conversation, and Shelley found herself sharing hopes and dreams she'd barely admitted to herself. "I've been thinking about going back to school," she confided over plates of delicious pasta. "Maybe get my master's in social work. I want to be able to help other trans individuals navigate their journeys." Tom's eyes lit up. "Shelley, that's incredible. I think you'd be amazing at that. Your empathy and strength would be such an asset in that field." His unwavering support brought tears to Shelley's eyes. "Thank you," she said softly. "It means so much to hear you say that." As the evening wound down, neither seemed eager for it to end. They took a leisurely stroll through a nearby park, hand in hand, talking about everything and nothing. When they finally reached Shelley's car, Tom pulled her close. "I don't want to be too forward," he said, his voice low and earnest. "But I want you to know that I'm falling for you, Shelley. Hard. You're one of the most incredible women I've ever met." Shelley felt her heart soar at his words. "I'm falling for you too," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "You make me feel seen in a way I never have before." "Can I see you again soon?" Tom asked, his forehead resting against hers. Shelley nodded, a wide smile spreading across her face. "I'd love that." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.